Hi guys, so today what you're going to be doing is we're going to be solving one-step equations. We're going to be using adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. First thing I want to do is go over a couple of vocabulary words. So the first one is variable. A variable is a letter that represents an unknown number. The most common one that you'll see is x. The next vocabulary word is inverse operation. It's the opposite operation. So if I asked you what the inverse operation of adding is, you would say it's subtracting. And then if I asked you for the opposite of subtracting, you would say adding. And then the inverse of multiplying would be dividing. And the inverse of dividing would be multiplying. So here are your steps to solving one-step equations. You're going to draw a line down the equal sign. Step 2, you're going to circle the variable. Step 3, your goal is to isolate the variable by doing the inverse operation. Remember, isolate means to get it by itself, and you're going to do the inverse operation, so the opposite operation. Then just remember, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side of the equation. You have to balance out that equation. And then from there, step 4 is to solve. All right, so let's move into some examples here. We have x plus 3 equals 10. So step 1, you want to draw a line down the equal sign. Step 2, you want to circle that variable. Step 3, you want to isolate the variable by doing the inverse operation. So let's see what's going on here. We know we want to move this 3 to the other side because I want to isolate the x by itself on this side of the equation. So then I ask myself, well, what's going on? It's a plus 3. Well, what's the opposite of adding 3? It would be subtracting 3. So then whatever you do to one side, just remember you have to do to the other side because you're balancing out the equation. Then what we're going to do is we're going to solve from there. Step 4 is to solve. So you'll notice that you're going to cancel out your 3's because you have a positive 3 and a negative 3, which gives you 0, and that's what you want. That's how you're able to isolate that variable. So you get x on the left-hand side of the equation. You want to bring down your equal sign. And then from there, you want to do the math on the right-hand side of the equation. So 10 take away 3 is 7. Then you get your final answer of x equals 7. The nice thing is that you can always plug that back into the original equation. So if I plugged it back into here, 7 plus 3 does equal 10. So we know that we did it correctly. Moving on to subtraction. So in this problem, we have x minus 5 equals 4. So remember, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a line down the equal sign. You're going to circle that variable. You're going to isolate the variable by doing the opposite operation. So in this case, that would be this is a minus 5, so that would be an adding 5. So that's why I have a plus 5 here. Then remember, whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. So I'm going to add 5 to the other side. And then from there, we're going to solve. So on the left-hand side, I have negative 5 plus 5, which gives me 0. We like to say they cancel out. So I'm only left with x on the left-hand side, which is what we want to do. We want to isolate the variable. Then on the right-hand side, I'm going to solve the problem. 4 plus 5 gives me 9. Don't forget to also bring down that equal sign. And then remember, you can always double check your work by plugging in the 9. So 9 minus 5 does equal 4. Moving on to multiplication. So in this problem, I have 3x equals 21. Remember, when two things are pushed together like that, that means to multiply. So 3 times a number equals 21. So let's start with drawing that line down the equal sign. We're going to circle that variable. We're going to isolate the variable by doing the inverse operation. So remember, this was 3 times x. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite. That would be dividing. Excuse me, it would be dividing. So we want to divide by 3 on both sides of the equal sign. And that is shown right here. So divide by 3, divide by 3. That's what that fraction bar means right here, divide by 3. Then we want to go ahead and solve. So step 4, well, 3 divided by 3 gives me 1. So we say they cancel out. They actually equal 1, but do you guys need a 1 in front of the variable? Nope, you don't. So you just have x. You bring down your equal sign, and then you do the math on the right-hand side. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Then you get your final answer of x equals 7. You double check your work. 3 times 7 does equal 21. And then finally, you have division. So in this problem on number 4, you have x divided by 2 equals 10. So again, draw your line down the equal sign, circle your variable. You're going to isolate the variable by doing the opposite operation. So in this case, it's going to be that if this is a divide by 2, you're going to multiply by 2. And whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. In this case, the 2's cancel out because technically you would have a 2 on top here. Remember, 2 divided by 2 makes 1. Okay, so those would cancel out, we say. So you're only left with x on the left-hand side of the equation. You bring down your equal sign, and then you do the math on the right-hand side. So 10 times 2 equals 20. So you get your final answer of x equals 20. Check your work. Plug in 20 for x. 20 divided by 2 does equal 10. All right, hope this helps. You also have notes in your notebook. You can always check. It's solving one-step equations, and it will be one set of notes will say adding, subtracting, and the other set of notes will say multiplying and dividing. If you have any other questions, remember that you can come to office hours and you can email us and we can meet up with you at another time if you can't make office hours. Hope that you have a great week. Talk to you soon.